What's up, Taiwan? I'm Yvonne with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Election campaigns are gearing up in Taiwan, and the three main parties are laying out their policy platforms. On Wednesday, the main opposition candidate announced his party's energy policy, stressing his support for nuclear power. Sally Jensen has more.
Hou Yu-yi, the presidential candidate for the opposition Kuomintang, or KMT, has just announced his party's energy policy ahead of next year's general election. The controversial issue of nuclear energy is front and center at this press conference in New Taipei City, with Hou reiterating his support for nuclear power.
我从头到尾没有反对过核电，以核减煤，因为全世界国际的趋势 都是用核电慢慢在取代化石燃料。
Taiwan's current energy mix is heavily skewed toward imported fossil fuels, mostly coal and gas. Around 10% is nuclear and a similar amount is renewable energy. Hou Yu-yi wants to completely replace coal with nuclear by 2040 and include it under the umbrella of green energy. That contrasts starkly with the ruling Democratic Progressive Party, or DPP's, fiercely anti-nuclear stance. It has been working to phase out nuclear energy in the country by 2025. The topic is highly divisive among the Taiwanese public, with a significant minority expressing support for nuclear. Taiwan's Ministry of Economic Affairs has responded to the KMT's energy proposal, saying it is not in line with international renewable energy commitments. Other factors for consideration in each party's energy policy are energy security in the face of growing demand and threats from China, which claims Taiwan as its own territory. Added to that are the climate and ecological crises. This has led Taiwan to rethink its reliance on fossil fuels and implement a net zero emissions target by 2050. There's still 5 months left until the election, enough time to see how the KMT's plans to expand nuclear will land with the public. With its energy policy now laid out, the KMT hopes to consolidate its identity as the pro-nuclear party in a bid to win over the country's voters. Yvonne Chen and Sally Jensen for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwanese chip giant TSMC is set to build its first European factory in Germany. The move has been welcomed by German industry leaders who want to bring supply chains closer to home. Dresden reports.
It's official. TSMC is setting up shop in Europe. After years of talks, the world's largest contract chip maker has decided to greenlight a new factory in Dresden, the capital of Germany's eastern state of Saxony. The area is a powerhouse of European chip production, with 1 in 3 chips made in Europe coming from Saxony. Building on that momentum, TSMC has said it will invest up to $3.8 billion in a joint venture for the new Dresden factory. The Taiwanese chip giant will own 70% of it, while Germany's Bosch and Infineon and the Netherlands' NXP will each own 10%. The site won't be making TSMC's most advanced chips either. Those will be produced exclusively in Taiwan, with the company's Kaohsiung site set to be the latest to start producing state-of-the-art 2-nanometer technology. The proposed site in Germany will instead focus on more mature technologies for automotive use. Some analysts say Europe's strong industrial history will likely be an advantage here.
Even if Germany and Europe maybe doesn't have these big global companies that everyone knows, there are a lot of niche technologies where German and European companies are still leading, including in semiconductors.
This comes as the US and China, the world's top superpowers, battle for global tech supremacy. Both sides have been working to ramp up chip-making capabilities through new laws and by issuing strict controls and even bans against each other. It's caused unease among some in Europe.
Europe is somewhat caught in the middle because technologically we both depend in certain technologies on the US and in other technologies on China. Europe wants to just be less dependent on other powers as these geopolitical tensions rise.
Aside from governments, private companies have also been moving to diversify production and supply chains. That includes TSMC with its growing list of overseas investments. Until 2022, the chip giant's only factory outside of Taiwan was in Nanjing, China. Now it's building a plant in Japan in a joint venture with Sony, and one in the western U.S. state of Arizona. TSMC has already invested $40 billion in that highly anticipated plant. The proposed fab in Germany now joins the growing list. But it hasn't all been smooth sailing. TSMC has already delayed its Arizona plant's start date due to shortages of skilled labor, a problem some say might also be an issue for its German factory.
德国的工会其实他们的势力恐怕会比美国更加的大，而且更加的强悍。而且不要忘掉，德国本身还有绿党、工党，这些的话都是非常左翼的政党。
Whether TSMC will be able to fill up its Dresden site with the right talent is yet to be seen. But for the time being, the new investment could help build enthusiasm, persuading others in the supply chain to set their sights on Europe. Andy Xue and Joyce Zhen for TaiwanPlus.
A wave of chip firms is expected to follow TSMC and invest their resources into Europe too. To discuss the bloc's potential contribution to the global supply chain, our reporter Joyce Zhen spoke to the executive vice president of chip firm Numanda, Marco Metzger.
In this battle between Washington and Beijing for global tech supremacy and Europe kind of caught in the middle, what role do you see Europe playing moving forward?
You know, Europe has a strong automotive industry, industrial industry, and I think in this regards, it's beneficial for TSMC and also for the partner companies like Bosch, like Siemens, like NXP, to work together on European soil and having a more resilient supply chain. Having an opportunity that I have an additional foundry service in Europe with the world's leading foundry provider, I think this will help to nurture an ecosystem or to support an ecosystem to grow again. Because as you know, the factory is in Dresden. So in Dresden, I would say it's probably not only for Germany, but I think even for Europe, it's kind of the Silicon Valley, like they call it the Silicon Saxony.
Tech is an increasingly core dimension of government agendas, and you see more international diplomats forging closer ties with Taiwan. You know, the latest example being ex-US official Keith Crack visiting Taipei. But how do you see governments balancing forging ties with Taiwan while keeping in mind geopolitical realities with China?
Let's be honest, these type of investment which have been done, they were only working because of subsidies. The government has an agenda, so they want this to make happen. So they want to invest this money in order to build up some kind of a resilience in the supply chain. I see it more from a business perspective, and I think that the business perspective is driving it. When you establish these ties with such an important player in the semiconductor industry, which TSMC clearly is, right? So you have an opportunity there in various fields. You need to make maybe some strategic decisions, you know.
That was Marco Metzger, the executive vice president of chip firm Numanda, speaking with Joyce Zhen. Health authorities say Salmonella was the cause of a massive outbreak of food poisoning in northern Taiwan. Over 500 people fell ill after eating at a Vietnamese banh mi sandwich shop in Taoyuan over the weekend. Dozens are still in hospital. Samples taken from the shop have tested positive for Salmonella contamination. The shop has already been fined $17,000 for violating food hygiene rules. The city government is launching a food cleanliness drive in multiple languages to prevent more outbreaks. Taiwan is urging the clothing industry to recycle textiles and promote sustainable fashion. The textile industry is a major contributor to global warming, responsible for up to an estimated 10% of carbon emissions. Taiwan's Environmental Protection Agency is drawing up recycling guidelines, but industry representatives say it's not easy to remanufacture second-hand clothes. And recyclers say if Taiwan wants to increase fabric recycling rates, it must first develop machines that can help sort different materials. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we leave you with images of an exhibition showcasing Hong Kong's disappearing neon signs. I'm Yvonne. Take care, and I'll see you next time.